Hello and welcome to another video. I'm Maz and today I'm in Gloucester. And in today's video I'll be trying out this Jaguar XFR. A huge thank you to my friend JC for lending his car. This is actually his third car that he lent me to make a video. The first was the Mini, then the 335i, and now this, the XFR. And if you are a Jaguar owner and you would like your car featured on the channel, feel free to reach out. A quick overview: the Jaguar XF is Jaguar's executive saloon to compete with the BMW 5 Series and Mercedes E-Class and Audi A6. But if you want the full overview for the standard XF or the X250 in general, click on the top right hand corner of the screen or in the link in the description down below. In this video we're just going to focus on the R. So the Jaguar XFR was launched in 2010, directly replacing the S-Type R, but also taking over from the baton from the SV8, which was the flagship V8 XF from 07 till 09. It was basically the 4.2 V8 Jaguar XF, and then the XFR officially was launched when the 5 litre came out. Interestingly, with the XK, which I've already made a video on, again, top right hand corner of the screen or in the link in the description down below, that did get an R variant with the 4.2 engine and didn't really wait until the 5 litre was out. And here are the stats for the Jaguar XFR. And it is worth mentioning that this car has been tweaked by both Swallows Racing and Raptor Customs. So here are all the modifications done to this particular example. And all of you eagle-eye viewers from home should notice that this is the pre-facelift XFR. The facelift came around the tail end of 2011 or the beginning of 2012. And interestingly, that facelift R even had an even faster variant, the RS. All XFRs, pre-facelift and post-facelift, are saloon only, but Jaguar made 61 Sport Brake RSs. And if you are an RS owner, Sport Brake or saloon, and you'd like your car featured on the channel, feel free to reach out. I've made tons of F-Type content, but I also plan on doing more Jaguar content, but with other models. And of course that later R then got the ZF 8-speed gearbox. This pre-facelift example only has the 6, but at least you got the 8 later on, unlike the XKR, well, the XK range, which had the 6-speed for its entirety. Obviously this generation XF lasted from 07 to 2015, and 2015 was also when the R variant was also discontinued. And unfortunately that was the last of the R. The second generation XF, the X260, which I owned a 20D variant of, never got a high performance variant. It sort of did with the supercharged V6 XFS model and its turbo diesel equivalent. There wasn't really an XFR, X260 or SVR, which the F-Pace did get. Okay, so here's the front of the XFR, and here is the key fob. Being the very early example, you get this shaped key fob. The facelifts, technically speaking, did get them, but halfway through the facelift, 2014, they actually swapped over to the newer style. As a result, this earlier example even has the older Jaguar script, and they moved to the squarer fonts that they use today on the 2014 model. Mandated in North America, but I'm thankful that they brought it here, is the panic button. So that means if you've lost the car or you don't know where it is, you can just hold this button here for 3 seconds or press it 3 times to trigger the alarms. This was the first Jaguar saloon that got me into the Jaguar brand. And I also particularly like the way this XFR looks, thanks to its more aggressive front end with the larger intakes and the more streamlined headlights. This pre-facelift example uses the standard xenon headlights and halogen main beams, but if you get a facelifted model you get the bi-xenons and LED DRLs. And To link it ever so slightly with the older Jaguars, this circular section has some cowling over it. This pre-facelift example uses the older Jaguar front emblem. If you get a 2014 or a 2015, it is slightly updated with a red background, and just like the old E-Type, it has a bonnet bulge, which, to be fair, all the other Jaguars ever since have used them as well. Jaguar are also very keen to let you know that this car is supercharged, the AJ133. And interestingly, not only did this make its way onto the XKR, but it also made its way onto many modified Fords, Vauxhalls and other performance hatchbacks in the aftermarket scene. The wheels, all the pre-facelift XKRs and XFRs had this design. They are 20 inches and I think they look very good. It is worth mentioning that this car is lowered by 20 millimeters. Being an R, you get the red calipers, and this particular car has EBC red stuff, and the owner has also switched the center caps to the later red ones. And I also like how it says supercharged Jaguar around the center cap. Being a pre-facelift example, it has the pre-facelift side vent. The mini facelift was introduced at the same time as the XFR, which includes this LED side repeater for the mirror housing. The very earlier ones had a small one here from Volvo, and this was long before black pack was a thing in Jaguars. This particular example has the keyless entry. Here's what the overall side profile looks like. That drop in ride height does make the car look more aggressive. And one thing I like about the XF, the X250 and the X260 is that the roofline continues to slope like a coupe. And if you look at it from B-pillar back, it does look very DB9-like. This particular example has a sunroof, and it even has a shark fin. That emblem is aftermarket, so we'll gloss over that. Coming around to the back. Again, very similar to the standard XF, though the R has the distinctive lower valance with the quad tailpipes, though these ones are aftermarket. Of course, you get the distinctive R badge, though the red section has faded away. And this early example does not have the tail light extending all the way here, nor is it LED. This pre-facelift example has the Jaguar script on the bar, and then the facelift does away with the script, only for it to come back on here on the final two model years. And those who are eagle-eyed will know that the earlier cars had a different script for the XF emblem. This lip spoiler is distinctive to the XFR, which did also end up making its way onto the R Sport. Once again, for the boot, just watch a video on the standard XF. Let's just skip the back since I've already done that on the standard XF video, and here's what the interior looks like. And being an X250 and not an X260, you do get this very nice leather smell on the inside. Being an R, you get the slightly sportier trims, the R embossment on the seats, and this particular one has the red interior, which I really like. Interestingly, the steering wheel is from a facelifted model. The pre-facelifts would have this part of the wheel different. But that being said, the rim is aftermarket. Now coming inside, again, it feels just like the regular XF, surprise surprise, but a little bit more special. Here's my point of view. So, as I've mentioned, this steering wheel is aftermarket. This is actually from the facelifted model. These prongs are slightly more modernized. This still has the original growler. The 2014-2015 had the newer style. Again, it's got the R badge here. Because the seats are red, the stitching is also in red, and the leather is extended onto the dash, and it feels a lot nicer than the newer X260. Being a pre-facelift, these buttons are silver as opposed to black. The black ones, when they were new, felt a little nicer and more upmarket, but as they aged, the finish on them deteriorated and felt sticky. Luckily, these ones are aging a lot better. Being an R, you got the R badge here, and my favourite piece of the X250 that wasn't in the X260, the glove box. But once again, all of these will be mentioned in the standard XF review. The headlining in this particular car is in Alcantara, and this particular example has a sunroof which does transform the interior dramatically. Especially with a dark interior, it does let in a lot more light. And yes, I really like these red seats. Being an R, you got the supercharged emblem on the Speedo, and the needles are in red. This particular car has the plastic paddles, though I'm sure metal paddles were available in the accessory catalogue. Again, being an R, the pedals have a nice shiny finish, though these are actually optional extras. I have seen other Rs without them. Forgot to quickly show you, the kick plates are just the standard Jaguar ones, they don't illuminate.
Wi-Fi is on. 5G Wi-Fi.
That was the dash cam, and now the R emblem is illuminated on the screen, and the start button is pulsating like a heartbeat, which I've mentioned in other Jaguar reviews. 74 beats per minute, which is the same heart rate as a resting Jaguar cat. This particular one does have the heated front screen, and because it's an R, it has the dynamic button here, which is typically blank on the standard model. This one has the cover on the gear selector. Many owners have complained that the standard fascia can glare, but personally I would rather go with the leather top, which is in the accessories catalogue. In fact, I did put the leather top on my X260. That's pretty much it with the XFR as an R, but if we, well, turn on the ignition, yep, my favourite part of the interior, the rotating dials, which you can choose to keep in the open position if you so wish. Because I'm in a pre-facelift, here's what the infotainment system looks like. Very similar to what you get in the XK, and yep, very laggy. That's what the sat-nav looked like back then. Of course, the facelift had a nicer infotainment system, and there's an aftermarket company called Jaguar that may help modernize this screen. And to turn off the climate, just press this. There we go. Here's what the screen looks like in this pre-facelift example. Probably the only thing that dramatically dates the car, along with the infotainment system. And of course, being an R, let's start this car. Press down, hold. Lovely noise. Put the windows down. Soft limiter at 4,000. So that's the exterior and interior done now, so let's see what this car is like to drive. So, seatbelt's already on. The dial has already risen. Turn that to drive. And off we go. And I also forgot to mention, this pre-facelift does have a slightly different pattern to its rotary dial. The facelift, it's more knurled, but on this, it's just grooved. And from first impressions, I immediately feel at home in this car. Probably because I've driven a few XFs, as well as a few F-types. It all feels natural to me. Steering position is spot on. It's not offset to the left like in a Mercedes. Footrest is very generous, unlike the F-Type, which had to make some clearance for the manual version. The X250 was automatic only, but they did make a few manual X260s. And if you are a manual XE or XF X260 owner, and you would like your car featured on the channel, feel free to reach out. A bit busy here in Eastern Avenue, which is perfect, because I want to see what this car is like in stop-start. Being an earlier car, if you want to just make a quick getaway, you just press the button here, which I prefer over the X260, which you have to press a button to move over. At a red light already, brakes were very smooth. Give it a quick rev. That sound is very addictive. There we go, green light. And off we go. In everyday driving, the accelerator is very, very smooth. I know in some cars it can be a bit jerky, but thanks to this car being a ZF automatic with a torque converter, it gradually makes its way over, despite having a 5-litre V8 with a supercharger bolted on top. Right-hander here. Not used to a flat bottom, but it's not the end of the world. And see what it's like on speed bumps and undulations. It is a little crashy, but I am driving a slightly lowered XFR. This car has been tweaked by both Swallows and Raptor customs, and I don't usually drive modified examples, but I mentioned that I will drive this exact XFR on the 335i video, which you can watch by clicking on the top right hand corner of the screen or in the link in the description down below. But yes, despite all of these tweaks, it's not a major issue for me. I'm sure a portfolio owner will not like to drive this thing around, but I've yet to drive a portfolio Jaguar, except for the XJ. One of the biggest criticisms that Jaguar get is that they're fairly big cars with fairly small cabins, but to me that's sort of its appeal. You feel hemmed in, you feel like you're in your own little bubble. At a red light currently, and it is worth mentioning this car doesn't have hill hold. Green light now, so let's make a move. I have driven an A35 around here, and I remember in stop-start traffic, the moment you touch the accelerator, it would set off like a scolded cat, even if you're doing like a quarter throttle. Here, it doesn't immediately make its way, but that being said, I am in normal mode for everything. But then again, the same applied to that A35, it would still have a very sensitive accelerator, even in normal mode. So, in the context of everyday driving, I am thankful that this car isn't very sensitive with the accelerator. Speed bump wise, it does fairly well. Of course, it's going to be crashier than a standard XFR, and the facelift version does have some tweaks. So once again, if you are a facelift XFR owner and you would like your car featured on the channel, feel free to reach out. Finally leaving Barton Street, and as far as ride comfort goes and how it deals with the bumps and undulations, I don't think it is compromised at all. Despite being modified and despite being lowered, I still think this car is easily livable. Currently at a red light, so I'm still waiting until we can actually make a move on, but it is worth mentioning it is rush hour here in Gloucester. Okay, finally green, setting off. There's a slight delay when turning the wheel, but I'd still say it's very, very sharp. Maneuverability wise, it's still very, very good. But I'm guessing that dead zone is only there just so you don't accidentally flinch. The dead zone is very, very minimal. And city centre maneuverability, it's doing well. Again, it's a 5 Series sized car, or in this case an M5 sized car. But I don't feel like I'm taking too much space. I don't feel like I might hit something. And the lights turned green, so turning right. No body roll at all whatsoever. Another right-hander. Thank you. And city centre driving, this car is tolerable. Maybe it's a different story if you're in Bristol, but at least if you live in a city centre that's similar to Gloucester or Gloucester itself, this car is tolerable. But of course an E-Pace will be easier to manoeuvre around the city centre. And being the R, the sound is somewhat novel. Sharp left. No body roll whatsoever. The bolsters are very strong on the bottom, but I think they missed a trick by not adding a bit more bolsters on the shoulders. I did roll off the seats ever so slightly, but it's very, very negligible. And Jaguar eventually did bring performance seats into the F-Pace SVR, and even as an option on the I-Pace. And if you'd like to see me review an I-Pace with performance seats, click on the top right hand corner of the screen or in the link in the description down below. Okay, one last thing to check, what it's like on the open road. So put this into sport, put this into dynamic mode. Try again. So with the X250 you have to press and hold everything. It's not a light tap like you get in newer Jaguars. 3, 2, 1, and that's half throttle, and it was accelerating like that. Straighten up, there we go. It really gets going the moment you put your foot down. It accelerates like a scolded cat, like so, and that actually put my head into the headrest. At a turn now. Being a rear-wheel drive car, you have to be a bit more respectful. Sun's come out. At 70, this car revs at around 2000 RPM, so on a long motorway journey this won't be too deafening at all, and it will still be a relaxing drive if you live in Wiltshire and you need to go to Essex. The sound of this car is very, very addictive, especially the pops and bangs you get on the overrun. And this car revs to about 6,500 RPM, just over it I would say, so close to 7,000. Let's make a U-turn and see what it's like in manual mode. Luckily, if you're in sport, there's no separate manual button you need to press. Sun's in my eye. On the on-ramp, 3, 2, 1, and I like that the center screen turns orange to let you know when to change up. Just remember, this was the same car that I was cruising along Eastern Avenue and Barton Street, and once you take it to the Brockworth bypass it turns into a completely different car, like a Jekyll and Hyde transformation. But unlike that S55 that I drove, it's not very two-stage, it's a lot more linear, turning from a cruiser to a muscle car. But of course the Jaguar equivalent to that Mercedes would be an XJR, and if you are an XJR owner of any period and you'd like your car featured on the channel, feel free to reach out. So yeah, let me enjoy this car a little bit more. The DSC does start to fight a little bit. And I forgot to mention the changes again, because it's an automatic, there is a slight delay. It's not a twin clutch, but 9 out of 10 times I'd much rather have this than a DCT system. So let's head back to the car park and finalize this video. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed watching me try out this Jaguar XFR. Like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you are new, ring the bell to stay up to speed, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers!